This is Marco Reus.
This is Shinji Kagawa.
This is Nuri Sahin.
Hello, this is Jadon Sancho.
And you're listening to the Yellowwall podcast.
Episode 412 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about a 1-0 win in Mainz, which marks a back-to-back 1-0 win, a 1-1 draw away to 1. FC Cologne, and we will answer some listener questions. For all that and more, joins me Matthias Zug. Hello Matthias, how are you doing?
Don't ask. No, I'm okay. I'm weather and Köln match appropriately mooded.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm sorry that we do not have much of a title race to discuss anymore, but I think we predicted as much on the previous episode that we should just enjoy it while it lasts. But also here, and I'm delighted that he's finally made it, Konstantin Eckner, once again on the show. Hello, Konstantin. How are you doing?
Hello, Stefan. Hello, Matthias. What's going on?
Well, I'm glad you're here now after your Wi-Fi crapped out between the Cologne and Mainz game, where we wanted to record another episode. But I think in hindsight, it doesn't really matter because Dortmund did lose, or not lose, but did lose out on a perfect week, perfect English week. And I guess let's start with a 1-0 win in Mainz, which was another game where Dortmund had the backline consisting of Paslak, Can, Pongracic, and Schulz. And it was, I don't know where to start, Konstantin. I think you actually commented on that game for radio. It was a very tedious performance, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, that took a while. Also, funnily enough, after the game, I interviewed one of Mainz fan or Mainz podcaster, I think. And I was trying to get on the point that maybe Erling Haaland changed the game, the dynamic of the game, because he came in at the 57th minute, and I think that was the time when really things changed to the better for Dortmund. But the Mainz guy was more but I mean, we expected that to happen, that after 60 minutes our team will fall apart because, they had all these corona cases, 14 people in quarantine, blah, 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 as you know. And they basically expected that their team will fall apart after an hour or so, and which more or less happened, right? I mean, Mainz, they gave away the game, or they gave away control of the game after an hour or so. And so I don't even know how much you can attribute to Dortmund and how much you can attribute to just Mainz being in a kind of a difficult and dire situation because of Corona. I mean, of course, when you look from a Mainz perspective, you always try to make maybe the best argument in favor of your team because Mainz played really well the first half. And they really put it to Dortmund for, 20, 30 minutes or so. That was really good to great performance by Mainz, to be honest. And it was really one of these Dortmund performances, and we will talk about the Cologne game quite soon. Same thing, when Dortmund doesn't look like the championship contender side, when they more look like mid-table side playing against another mid-table side, because they lose all control of the game. They are sitting back, they are trying to press doesn't work, and then hell breaks loose. And I mean, when you play a backline with Can and Pongracic in the Mainz game, and Paslak and Schulz at fullback, or even Can and Akanji with Paslak and a recently recovered COVID patient Guerrero. So I don't really know what to tell you, but I mean, if you sit back and have that backline, help God. So I mean, it was a match. It took a while. I even saw in front of my Dortmund conceding a goal, falling behind against Mainz, and then it would have been trouble, even with Mainz losing energy over the course of 90 minutes. That they won in the end, it was one of these dirty wins, and I think some like to make the argument, and I can play play the ball back to you guys, but some like to make the argument after, and they made the argument after the Bielefeld match. Yeah, you need these 30 wins to win the championship, right? If you still talk in terms of winning the championship, you need these 30 wins because like that's what Bayern have done for many, many years. Winning 30, winning close games, when you're not really on top of your game, but you're still winning. And same with Mainz, 30 win, late goal, yada, yada, yada. Great. But I think my counter argument was always, that might be true if you win a few dirty games, a few close games. But I mean, when you look back these past few months, Dortmund had too many of these close matches. Then one time it will bite you, and you will not win the close match, and then you will drop the deciding points, and you will not be in the championship race anymore. Which there's an argument to be made that maybe they are still in the championship race somewhat. But that's my problem. Like, if you can win decisively or win at least like 2-0, 3-0 and just go home, and they didn't do that against Mainz. It was a really close game. It could have been 2 points dropped. They didn't drop the 2 points there. They had to travel to Cologne to drop the 2 points. Whatever. I mean, after all, they didn't win all the games they had to win before the international break. It's just not convincing what Dortmund play right now, especially in terms of imposing their will on another team. Through pressing, through possession, but especially through pressing. It's just not happening right now. And it doesn't really matter if it's Mainz, if it's Cologne, or even if it's Bielefeld in some regard. It's just not happening. And so that's why Dortmund are maybe struggling and getting to 3 points sometimes, but it's also the reason that they aren't always getting to the 3 points, and that's why they are 6 points behind Bayern right now. So overall, I think the Mainz game was really like blueprint for why Dortmund are not really, a true championship contender right now.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend who obviously is not a big football fan, but he was like, yeah, well, if Dortmund win the championship, I don't even know how hard I would celebrate because it just would not feel deserved. And I had to remind them, yeah, okay, but it's okay to win a undeserved championship. Because you're right, Konstantin, in so many ways, this Dortmund team does not look like a title contender. There's just nothing about this team where you think that the football swagger is up to the level. Now, Matthias, that all being said, the couple positives to draw out of the Mainz performance is that once again, Dortmund had the work rate where it needed to be. I think Marco Rose said after the game that they showed the basics, and pretty much that's all they showed in fairness, but at least the basics they showed, which has been a criticism very often. Once again, notably for me, Julian Brandt not starting, even though I think he was fit, and Dortmund arguably could have used his creativity, but I just think the work rate overall does not of Julian Brandt warrant a start right now. And to Konstantin's point, I thought the pressing was slightly improved, but obviously still a far cry away from where it needs to be. What did you make out of this performance, which at least was maybe gritty?
Yeah, I mean, grinding out results is important. And to kind of underline your point, countering your friend, the Giants beat an undefeated Patriots for the Super Bowl and nobody cares. I mean, it's, you can't really say that the Patriots didn't deserve, but at the end of the day, who wins. But Dortmund are not going to win this Bundesliga season. So, and grinding out results is important. And yes, Bayern do it, but Bayern have to do it maybe 4 times a season, like Konstantin said. Whereas, and even when they grind it out, they tend to grind it out against better sides, not against some of these sides, not against Bielefeld, as an example. And this game it was not enjoyable by any stretch of the imagination at all. I actually enjoyed the Cologne match more than the Mainz match, just because it was just that typical match that I kind of expected, but I did expect more from Dortmund. I mean, 0.8 versus 0.6 XG kind of says everything you need to know about that game.
This would have been a scoreless draw if it weren't for that set piece goal.
Yes, exactly. And, sometimes that stuff just happens for you. But it's unconvincing to say the least. Yes, one has to understand that, a lot of injuries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And again, to me, what this showed, what all of these three matches have shown now, is how important the backline buildup is for Dortmund also when it comes to playmaking and creativity. And that's just not there. And so...
Are you telling me Nico Schulz deciding to move laterally around the midfield point and then having heavy touches not good playmaking?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's up for interpretation. No, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. Right now, with the squad at Dortmund's disposal, especially when you look at the back line and how important building up from the back is for Dortmund for years, and it continues under Marco Rose, that's not a Champions League squad. I mean, that is a mid-table Bundesliga squad. When you look at, let's say, the back four, the way it's kind of been thrown together. Now, I know that's not the regular squad, so, whatever. But given what it is, it's not surprising that Dortmund get the results that they do right now. Now, granted, they haven't lost any of these games. And they haven't conceded a ton of goals. They've conceded a goal. So that, at the same time, it's like, okay, I don't quite know what to make of that. And they really could have won against Cologne. So it's just these games are kind of leaving me so, I don't really know what to make of it, but a lot of improvement is needed. And more importantly, health is needed and quality depth is needed.
I'm really struggling here to explain to anyone who's asked me this, and I've been asked many times, but obviously I don't have any answers for the questions. Why do Dortmund fullbacks last 5 minutes and then they die? I mean, Felix Passlack, really great for him to get some minutes finally, obviously thanks to the injury of Thomas Meunier. And Marius Wolf being needed elsewhere, or being played elsewhere. I guess Wolf could still play right back if you then put Brandt in there or whatnot. But, Passlack did his job okay against Bielefeld. Against Mainz, he struggles a wee bit more. And against Cologne, even more so. But against Cologne, he had to be subbed off at halftime. And against Cologne, Nico Schulz had to be, basically hooked before he could even start the game because he picked up a muscular injury I think during warm-up or so. And then Guerrero, who, just doesn't have the wheels at this point, needed to slot in there. And that just, very unfortunate. Konstantin, obviously you are someone who has, dabbled a little bit in sports science. Do you have any explanations why it is? I mean, obviously the right back position or the left back position is one of the most running intensive positions in football. But still, I'm scratching my head just a tiny bit why Dortmund fullbacks just die instantly.
Luckily they don't die actually.
Well, obviously.
I know what you mean. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what they do internally. I just think that some of these guys are not fully fit. First of all, they're not fully fit for various reasons. We will see what happens with Guerrero, by the way, coming back from COVID. I don't know how hard his COVID case was, but coming back from COVID quickly can be an issue. Has been an issue with some.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yes, it's actually far from ideal. Especially with something. I mean, we have a lot of data points now with COVID. Although the illness or like the cases are quite new, of course, but there have been so many, so it's a little bit different than like other diseases. But still, it's not that well known what it really is when you come back and do high level sports so soon. Have been some cases where it was really not ideal to say the least. We will see what happens with him. Usually you shouldn't, if you had symptoms, and even if you didn't have symptoms, when you're just at home and quarantining, you can run 15 miles in your house. It's just not the same. Sorry. We had that at the Olympics where some did 10 miles running in their hotel room. Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's just not what it seems to be. But in terms of like these injuries, I think some of them are not fully fit. Some might try to get back too soon, so they are a little bit overtrained. So that the entire idea of energy management and Belastungssteuerung in Germany, that's not only concerning match time and like how many miles you ran in a game and how many intense runs you made, but also just in general how many miles you put on your body or you're running during an entire week and training and so on, and I don't know where else, on the treadmill also. I think just that they have essentially thrown it out the window and trying to get at least 2 on the field. And that's something that really is the point of concern here. I don't think that Dortmund's fullbacks are much more, or the role of Dortmund's fullbacks is much more demanding than, let's say, the role of an RB Leipzig wingback or something. It's quite, actually not really, If compare maybe how many intense runs Angelino or Benjamin Henrichs has to do, and I just take RB Leipzig as an example. You can take other clubs and other teams in the Bundesliga. So I don't think that the role is that demanding. It's just that the guys who are on the pitch are not fully fit. Belastungssteuerung has been thrown out the window, and they just pray to God that basically nothing happens, and then still things happen. Because when we look at the injuries, just one point of argument, Stefan, then I go give back to you. We have Schulz has a muscle injury, and Paslak also has a muscle injury, right? The others are, it's not on Transfermarkt, but there were a couple of muscle injuries recently, or injuries to ligaments, but also where it could be from basically stress injuries. Or you can also have ligament injuries if you're too tired, and then your reactive system, your body, is not fast enough to prevent an injury. Because what happens is if you get tackled and you're totally tired, your body does not automatically, that you don't really control it with your brain and like consciously. Your body doesn't really protect you that well, or protect the ligaments that well, and then you snap something or so. That's also when you're really tired. That can happen, and that's why sometimes you get ligament injuries when players are that tired and are not off the pitch. So I think that's really the case here, and that's why fullbacks of course have a demanding role all in all, but also the fullback situation is so I know there's like a domino effect now, right? Because you got Morey who's out like for a long time, and then Guerrero had all his troubles, and then Meunier got injured, and then you got a new one, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, and then just one domino stone falls after another.
Yeah, but it's still interesting because it's not like Nico Schulz, for example, had tremendous strains on their body, but obviously you need to ramp that up.
But you don't know. You don't know what condition he was in when he went on the pitch.
Yeah,
that's the problem. You don't know if he had like a minor injury in training or something. I think they just. At another point in time, they would have said maybe we shouldn't put Schulz in there, but there wasn't any other option, to be honest. Other than Guerrero, who just came back from COVID, and it's just like, all right, what do we do? Do we jump in the mud or jump in the shit? Take your pick.
It is a very vexing situation, let's put it this way, because the season has been marked by injuries across pretty much every position, and it's disrupted Dortmund season in so many ways. I think we can also talk about the performance of Erling Haaland across those 2 games, because when he came on against Bielefeld, when he came on against Mainz, and when he started against Cologne, he just looked very out of rhythm, out of shape, and his work rate was, hard to compare to Malen, because Malen, did work much more effectively, let's say, but also closed out his pressing situations more often in these 3 games. And when Haaland came on against Bielefeld, to me, he was standing around for the most part. It looked a little bit better against Mainz, but still not where you want it to be. And against Cologne, I thought it was an outright wrong decision. If you were just going for the result to start Haaland, because the way Malen performed within this team in the previous games, I would have stuck with him and then maybe made the change at halftime or so. But to start Haaland, to me was an entirely wrong call, because he just not is in rhythm. But if you want to make sure that Haaland gets or gains rhythm, then probably should start him and hope that he goes from there. But taking Haaland off with like 8 minutes to go for Malen seemed very nonsensical to me, to be honest, because maybe that's the maximum time that Haaland can play, but at the same time, 8 minutes, not really any amount of time for Malen to get rhythm and to find himself into the game and make a difference. So to me, that was very frustrating. Matthias, it's been 2 very weird games in the sense that, to me, both times Dortmund didn't actually deserve to win. I think we just already said that the Mainz game should have arguably been a scoreless draw. If we look at the Cologne game, maybe a 1-1 draw is deserved, but especially looking at the first half, I thought that Cologne were so dominant and so good at outplaying Dortmund in terms of pressing and winning the ball back. It looked more like a vintage Dortmund performance. Based on that, I mean, obviously Dortmund got better in the second half when they switched their system a little bit. But nevertheless, what does it say about these 2 clubs and their trajectories?
Oh, I don't know if it says, honestly, a lot about the trajectory for Dortmund at the moment. But for Köln, all season, under Steffen Baumgart, their trajectory is clearly up. Without a doubt. He doesn't want to talk about Europe or anything like that, which I always find is just a little awkward and weird. I mean, everyone's talking about it. You may as well say, yeah, sure, we'd like to qualify for the Europa League or the Champions League. That's okay to say that. That doesn't mean it increases the pressure. I always find that silly. But be that as it may, it's great to see Köln play like this. I thought Köln had, I would say the first half, it was just like the typical thing. Dortmund, for the first 10, 15 minutes, it felt like they were, or 10 minutes maybe, they were, in control, kind of pinning Köln back aside from one chance. And then in the second half, it kind of started the same way. But Köln, in both halves, had all the shots for like the last 10 to 15 minutes. And that, for me, is always a little bit concerning. But it's the Köln that we expected. High press, aggressive, forward playing, forward thinking, a very exciting team. And Dortmund were just, struggling to find rhythm. And Köln did a lot to facilitate that. It wasn't that Köln sat back and frustrated Dortmund and they just couldn't find a way through. They played in an aggressive manner and stood on Dortmund's toes often enough that it was very, very difficult for Dortmund to get going. I mean, we just have to look at press. Köln had 205 presses versus Dortmund's 167, which, by the way, is pretty much the same amount of presses that Dortmund had against Mainz. So that says a lot there. Mainz only had like 120 presses. So that's the kind of thing. You mentioned it. It was you or Konstantin or both of you, that the pressing just doesn't seem cohesive from Dortmund. Which
it's usually
it can't be.
A striker or Marius Wolf or someone is making the run and then looks around and the entire team doesn't push up the field really alongside or accordingly, because maybe they're too scared of the ball over the top or something. But I don't know. This has been a point of criticism the entire season, that it's not cohesive, and it's driving me nuts, because how hard can it be? Apparently it is very hard.
Well, it's actually very hard. I mean, especially when you think about how many seasons these players were not asked to press aggressively. And even under Terzic, it took a long while. I mean, it was completely disjointed for the longest time, where individual players, and in my head, I'm always seeing Marco Reus pressing, nobody else presses, and obviously then you have problems. Then you have trouble when only 2 or 3 players press and the rest don't. And my hope is that will improve next season. Maybe it'll get better here towards the end. Obviously, there's rhythm missing when you have to chop and change your squad so often. But at the same time, it was just, again, for the first 10 minutes, for Dortmund, it was really good. It was very good. But how often have we said that this season? Oh, the first 10 minutes, Dortmund were really good with their pressing and everything. And the difference was here they actually scored. Other games they didn't score, they sometimes conceded. So I think that's the major issue. If you get a team that is more cohesive, less disjointed, and where the automatisms work better, I think then you will have the results you need. And I do believe Marco Reus is missing. I think he's had a great season, and not having him in the squad, especially for these types of matches, is a problem.
Yeah, now quickly let's talk about Marius Wolf, Matthias, because I think he's a player or his kind of style probably something that you like. He now had 3 goals and 1 assist, I think, in the last 4 or 5 Bundesliga games. He scored against Gladbach, he scored against Bielefeld, and he scored against Cologne. And I must say, the goal he scored against Cologne was not that easy to do, because his first touch from I think it was Bellingham's long ball, really nice. Touched it, I think, first with his right foot and then finished with the left foot against the grain of the goalkeeper, if you will. It wasn't a powerful shot, but it was a well-placed shot. A player that obviously had been loaned out to Cologne previously. What do you make of him and his current role? And maybe let's pivot to what his role in the future might be or should be, in your opinion.
Yeah, that's a good question. I like seeing him as a winger, but at the same time, if you really want to compete at the highest level, I just don't see Marius Wolf as a regular starter for that. I think he's good at what he does, but he's still limited in certain things that I think you need to be at that next level. So impact sub, quality rotation option, but if you're banking on him to be a regular starter at right wing, that's not what I would look at.
Well, fair enough. I would make a slight counter argument that Dortmund managed to succeed with the likes of Kevin Großkreuz or Kuba Blaszczykowski.
Fair enough.
It's a very long time ago, yes, but nevertheless, I think if you have the right squad, you can make a player like Marius Wolf work. And I really enjoy the work rate, and I said it on the last show. Sometimes I enjoy a mediocre player giving 100% more than a highly talented player giving 50%. Obviously you want the highest quality player really fighting hard and battling in the Marius Wolf kind of way, but this is something it's really hard to get, and I feel like Marius Wolf can be a player in many games where he makes a crucial difference. And considering if you look at the goals he scored now, his scoring technique isn't all that terrible, so there is a little upside there. It's not like he's completely useless, although I agree with the overall point that obviously he's not of the quality you would really love on that position, but at the same time, I think Dortmund need a player like him just as well, who fights a little bit harder and then closes a few more gaps than other players would do. And he has his qualities in the ball winning department. And, if you want to press high, I think he's a good player to have. And, as Jürgen Klopp used to say, counter pressing is the best playmaker. If Marius Wolf manages to win the ball high up the field, I think, you can work with that. I don't know what your opinion is, Konstantin, but I think it's more in the Matthias section than in the Stefan section.
Yeah, I have to agree. I guess you can have him as like your, I know, good feel story or feel good story, and as a work rate guy, and you can have him play maybe wing back if you have a wing back system. So with a back three, I think he works quite well. You can have him play some games, and over the course of the season, you need players like him. Should he be like in your perfect starting 11 if like all players are fit and in form? No, you shouldn't, because your ambitions are competing with Bayern possibly, and your ambitions are to get to the round of 16 at least in the Champions League. So I don't think he's really made for that, but you still need someone like him. And I mean, looking forward in the future, like Ansgar Knauf is also a type of player, where you think like, all right, he will never be outstanding or something, but, Knauf has the speed and also the work rate defensively, by the way. And with Wolf, he has the dynamic and the work rate, and it's never a bad thing to have a few of these players. But also it has happened in the past with other players, like Torgen Hazard has sometimes set a world on fire and then he went missing again. Some of these players, they will never be truly outstanding, and you will have to work with them more as role players or as bench players, as sub players, or as substitute players than as your perfect starting 11 players. So I guess that's kind of what Marius Wolf's role might be. I mean, right now, of course, many at Dortmund are happy that he's still around, because there were times when people were like, what? He's still around? He's still on the contract? He's still getting paid? Yes, of course.
Yeah, that was me at the beginning of the season. He was like the top candidate on my players to sell or to give away. I think I literally said that I don't think he is Dortmund material and should, be gotten rid of. But now I'm sitting here and being like, oh, I'm actually grateful that he's still here and is helping this team to achieve something, even if it's just achieve second place. But right now I think he's making Dortmund better, not worse. And that's
I agree, Stefan. I agree with you there. I'm thankful he's here, because without him, Dortmund would be significantly worse off.
I think you have these kind of players at many clubs, right? You got these players where they can really, over a short period of time, they can really make a difference for whatever reason. Sometimes you can't really explain it, but it's still there. They have like this 1 month where they are truly outstanding, and I don't know, just things happen, and you don't really know why. Or they maybe they are in form, and a lot of our people aren't. And I think that's also the case with Wolf. Right now, he's like really on top of his game. In this month of March or even February, March, and a lot of our Dortmund players aren't, or they are injured or not fully fit. And so there's also the discrepancy between Wolf and a couple of his teammates, and that's why you think like, all right, he's doing really well here, and he's not a bad player in general. I mean, he had his time at Hannover and so on, where he was really good, but. Yeah, I mean, don't count on him being like, the future of Dortmund's right side or something. I mean, just don't. And I think no one is as delusional to think that in Dortmund's hierarchy right now. I mean, I think they know what he is and what he can do and what he can't do over a longer period of time. I mean, there's still difference between, like, let's say, Marius Wolf and Giovanni Reina. If Giovanni Reina is like, fully at 100% and like really focused and makes maybe another step in terms of maturity and understanding the game, I mean, there is a difference between these two players, for instance, just speaking in who could play on the right side, because Reina could be in candidate to play on the wing, of course. So I guess no one really thinks that Marius Wolf is on the level of Giovanni Reina.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. What else is there to say, about these games? Obviously, Matthias, you and I, we had a very hopeful episode, almost cheerful, previewing these games. And you said,
So it's your fault.
Yeah, well, maybe. We said it's, if we beat Mainz, it's 4 points. And then we, basically see what Dortmund can do from there. Obviously, if Bayern then lose to Freiburg, which can happen, Bayern and Dortmund win against Leipzig, is 3 points again. So it's not like the title race, the chances are entirely out of the picture, out of the question. Like, there's still a minuscule chance, but obviously belief is not entirely there, especially after those performances, if we're all quite honest. But I guess we'll just move on and look then forward next week to the Leipzig game and see what that can bring. In the meantime, I think there are a couple of list of questions I want to get to. And one, I got a relatively long DM from Ed Perwad, and he basically asks, he wrote, BVB with the strangest defense in a long while, show great team spirit and manage 2 times a clean sheet. Royce, Hummels, Haaland, Reina, Brandt, Guerrero, Akanji out, and the rest of the team suddenly work hard as hell, which is something we probably also picked up. And he's writing, right now I'm watching Knauf being a star player in Frankfurt against Betis, working on the right side in both defense and attack. It's such a joy to watch him play at regularly at this high level. Ginter has been a major player in Gladbach for many years. Dux is having the time of his life in Bremen, and I'm sure there are many other examples of ex-BVB players leaving without getting a proper chance at Dortmund. What's wrong? Why is it that Dortmund year after year struggle to compose a team which is a consistent, hard-working unit, and most of all don't manage to develop own talents like Knauf? Matthias.
Yeah, okay. Oh, boy. Oh, given my mood, this is a great question. I'm glad you shot it over to me, Stefan. I really, really appreciate that. Okay, I mean, if we were going to knock these down one by one, Marvin Duksch is playing in the Zweite Bundesliga. Moving on. Ansgar Knauf is playing at a now more struggling Frankfurt side again. And that's why he's there, because he wouldn't get past players. He wasn't good enough to get past the players at Borussia Dortmund. So moving on. Ginter, I don't know. Did you watch him play at Dortmund? Because he was not very good. And sometimes players bloom later. And so be it. I'm surprised the question didn't include Daniel Ginczek. I mean, that kind of stuff, I mean, that's revisionist and it does nothing. I mean, Dortmund not developing its own player. I mean, whatever. Dortmund does a very, very good job at developing players. The problem is when you are playing at the highest level, like Borussia Dortmund, then only a fraction of your youth players will actually be good enough to make it through to the first team on a consistent, regular basis. Oftentimes, they're good enough to play in a mid-table side and look good often enough. But if you would then put them, like Marian Sarr, in for Borussia Dortmund at the highest level, they will not look that good. Matthias Ginter was not, when he was at Dortmund, the player he has then developed into. That is just a fact. Also, the timing was a little weird at that time when Dortmund was flip-flopping between managers and things like that. But to say that Dortmund aren't good at building a cohesive squad, I'm sorry. No. I completely disagree with that. That's a very odd take for me. And to pick those 3 players in particular as an example,
should have picked Isak.
Yeah, I mean, Isak.
Sergio Gomez now as a left back doing well elsewhere.
Yeah, but at the same time, there was obviously an issue that they couldn't break through there. I mean, hell, if you're going to pick players that Dortmund didn't perform well at Dortmund and then did well, I mean, Ciro Immobile is probably the best example.
This is the prime candidate, yes.
But still, it's like, those are bad examples. This isn't like a player that Dortmund let slip away and then became a mega superstar. We're talking about, I mean, Marvin Duksch is a second Bundesliga caliber player, nothing more. So I don't get that argument. I'm sorry. To me, that question is a little off.
All right. Then, Konstantin, I don't know if this is an easier one, but Della Andrew at Everton Soccer asks, and I think this is prompted by what Patrick Berger said from Sport 1, that Dortmund are basically willing or allowing Hazard and Julian Brandt to leave if they sort of want. I think that's what he said. And the question is, should Hazard and Brandt leave? Who are the two players Dortmund should replace them with?
So, I mean, we have to maybe break it down. I think Hazard is really a true winger. I don't really see Julian Brandt as a true winger. He's just, I don't know, he's not really, he's not the winger type. So if we look at, let's say, just the wingers in the Bundesliga, and
wait, nobody said wingers.
What are you getting at,
we
Stefan?
Need two wingers. I don't know what you're getting at, but neither Della nor Stefan said that Dortmund need to sign two wingers. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just trying to explain things here. What's wrong with you? Have you eaten bad things? No, but I'm just thinking like who?
I've only eaten a glazed donut. From Whole
that
Foods
explains a lot, actually. That explains everything. Yeah. No, but I mean, if we replace Hazard, I think we have to look at like one of these quick, dynamic wingers, and I'm just trying to figure out who in the Bundesliga might be an interesting replacement. Problem is, like, the Bundesliga is like so, I don't know, so down on good players right now. To be honest, I don't really find one. I mean, of course, you could buy Diaby if he's available, but he's too expensive. So there you go. You can't really buy him.
Not interested.
You are not interested in Diaby?
No, I'm not.
Okay, what of the like 10 best?
I can't sign another Leverkusen player. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Good for you. I mean, interestingly enough, I would actually maybe approach Dominik Szoboszlai because he's unhappy with his situation in Leipzig. He doesn't fit into the Leipzig system. He's not really the type of player they need. There's no position for him, by the way. So, I mean, that could be interesting because there's still a lot of talent there. So that might be an interesting approach. I mean, Kostic is not available. Kostic is like with 1.5 legs in Rome already. So there you go. Bye Kostic.
I mean, he was there with 1.5 legs, or was it Napoli last summer too?
Yeah, but now, I mean, it will be more time, right? There was more of I think the times have a little bit changed. Although, interestingly enough, I mean, they don't really have a position for him at Lazio, so we will see how that works. Anyway, I mean, that's Philip Kostic's problem and not ours. When I go through the other teams, I mean, there is not really what. It's just this. It's so hard, really. I mean, let's be honest. It's so hard to find a good winger right now. If we look more at like central of attacking player, like to replace Julian Brandt, also kind of struggling to find one in the Bundesliga right now. I mean, is there even a good player? Let's be honest. Like, there's one good striker Dortmund could sign from the other Bundesliga teams. That's it. And one good defender. That's Nico Schlotterbeck and that's Patrick Schick. And Patrick Schick has a bad foot and has running issues. So there you go. The Bundesliga sucks right now. All right. That's it. If Dortmund wants to sign players from our Bundesliga clubs, you got Nico Schlotterbeck, but we already signed Niklas Süle, so I guess that's out the window. And you could buy or you could sign Patrick Schick. That's it. And Patrick Schick has a bad foot, as I mentioned already. My God, like the Bundesliga is screwed. Not even Dortmund can now go through the Bundesliga and sign players. What's going on? No, but seriously, that's really a problem for Dortmund, I think, right now. That there's not much offered in the Bundesliga, like from other clubs.
I feel like Dortmund have fared better when they sign talents from Ligue 1 anyway.
But you can't cite the entire Ligue 1. I mean, they are sometimes unwatchable. Who you want to sign? Renato Sanchez from Lille? Oh, by the way, that would be a good signing. Renato Sanchez from Lille for Julian Brandt. I like that. Good one, Stefan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm serious right now. Renato Sanchez is the player at Lille, and he's like 5 times better than he was when he was at Bayern. Him coming in as a 6'8", Julian Brandt gone. Julian Brandt was never a winger. I like that. Stefan, good job.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad we
and
figured it out.
Szoboszlai maybe as an option to come to Dortmund to maybe rebuild his career a little bit. Szoboszlai, I really count on him. He's just fucked at like. Sorry,
Szoboszlai or Szoboszlai or whatever his name is.
Szoboszlai.
Is he good at one-on-one dribblings? Is that a skill set he has?
He's not. Okay. He's like one of these guys who needs like five tricks to get by one. So he doesn't do that. But what he's really good at is passing. And I think Dortmund needs a skilled passer at wing.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, because you have all these speed merchants at Dortmund, or I have some speed merchants at Dortmund, which is nice. By the way, Karim Adeyemi, speed merchant. So I think you need someone who's good at passing from outside, and so someone who can really also do well with Guerrero on the left. So that would Soboslai, and Renato Sanchez could be in central midfield. These are two options. And by the way, don't sign Adeyemi. Thank you.
Right now, it seems this transfer is breaking down a little because
hopefully,
because clubs can't agree on a transfer fee, and I would really appreciate if Dortmund do not
fingers crossed
pay 30 or 40 million or whatever for Adeyemi. I don't think he's worth it just yet. So, Matthias, do you have any players you would like to see Brandt and Hazard replace? Should they leave, or do you even want them to leave?
Do I want them to leave? I don't really want Torgan Hazard to leave. I feel like when he plays, he tends to do really well. His issue is just he's not getting the game time he wants. Julian Brandt, he's so up and down, but I'd hate to just give up on him. But I agree with Konstantin that having a player on the wing that can pass the ball and to help unlock defenses is a key. And in my head, for some reason, I'm thinking like Riyad Mahrez at Leicester City when they won the title. I mean, he played out wide, and his passing opened up so many opportunities for Jamie Vardy and so on, that's someone like that, a playmaker on the wing, would be very needed, I would say, by Borussia Dortmund to help unlock teams more, because that's the main struggle you have at Dortmund when everyone's healthy, is that when you have those teams, the Augsburgs of the world that sit deep and just don't move out, is how to unlock them. And if you can add creativity from a wide position, not just a central position, your chances increase significantly. So exact names, I'll be honest, I'm struggling right now. I don't think Dortmund need even more pace. They are plenty pacey, but and striker wise, okay, you say Patrick Schick. I agree he'd be a good type of striker for Dortmund. But
I
he's
still want
also
Sebastian Aller, but he's not.
Yeah, he's Aller's number one.
Yeah. Aller, I think the issue that Dortmund would have with Aller, they're looking at him as the upside in the long term, maybe, age-wise. But, with Schick, you're dealing with injuries. I mean, Süle is out right now again. So, I mean, Dortmund are bringing in a player that's going to be injured a few times.
Challenge for everyone, name a Dortmund target that's not currently injured.
I mean,
how's Renato Sanchez
That's true.
doing?
That's true. Even Adeyemi is out injured right now.
Oh, really? Oh, Jesus Christ.
what about future Dortmund superstar Gianluca Scamacca?
Oh, actually, Renato Sanchez, I just looked it up on Transfermarkt, is also out with the...
Yeah, he's injured. He didn't play against Chelsea, but that's okay. I mean, but he has
that's
played,
okay?
He has played plenty this year, right?
Fine.
He has played plenty this season. He's really...
Well, his starting 11 quota is 48% for Lille, and his game time minutes is at 44%.
I mean, if he would join the center midfield core, he would of course not. I mean, there are a couple of center midfielders. So I guess that would work with Sanchez. But also the other thing is, like, I don't know how much money actually Dortmund have right now to spend on transfers, because like Sanchez and then you got a striker who's expensive, and then maybe another player.
Well, I don't think it's a lot. So Sanchez was out with a meniscus injury for almost not first half of the season, but for let's say a third, and then he had a couple of muscular injuries here and there. But otherwise, he played pretty much.
Otherwise, he runs straight.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he runs straight. I mean, Patrick Schick, you can't say that about him.
So, let's talk a little bit about other potential signings for the defensive midfield, because I think the name Elis Skiri came up right before the Cologne game. I don't know if that was just the old Bayern trick trying to unsettle the opponent or whether there's something else to it. I heard names like Anton Stach being dropped, Florian Grillitsch, and like I said before, Debril So. Konstantin, any of those players you like in the Dortmund uniform?
Skiri I like. I think Dortmund have to address, because when we look at the entire squad, even if Hazard leaves and even if Julian Brandt leaves, if we look at the squad, I think there's still enough potential for the winger positions. And you can maybe sign one, or maybe you have to sign one winger, but there's enough in terms of central or attacking midfield, right? I mean, with Reina and with Reus, and you got still like Dahoud in this middle position and so on. The position you have to address is really the number 6, because Axel Witsel, I mean, if he turns, it's like a bus. So, and you need to address this really number 6, true number 6, not like a no, number 6. So I think Skiri is the because like there are so many number 8, number 6, 6 8s, right? These Dahoud type of players or Jude Bellingham type of players who are more 8s than 6. That's like out of context. It sounds weird.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm at 6s and 7s, but continue.
All right, pass. So I think that Skiri is, if you look at the Bundesliga right now, I think Skiri is the one player you should look at and try to sign. Because you still have a little bit left. You can still, play Dahoud maybe at 6 sometimes, and you still can. But Skiri, I think he's ready to go. He's the player. Cheaper so can be a number 6. Is kind of a number 6. Is a little bit more of a number 6-8. Is also a little bit more of a Bellingham type of player. Not really Bellingham, but you're moving forward number 6, so to say. So I think good player, but I think Skiri is the player. You need that holding player basically, and Skiri is that player. So you should sign him. Otherwise, I mean, the interesting thing when you look at international football, there aren't that many number 6s at a high level. I mean, there are some, but it's not like there are plenty. I mean, of course, and then you have the type of players who cost 100 million or so, like Casemiro. I mean...
Yeah, so Skiri is 26 years old right now. He will turn 27 in May. He is 1.85 m, and his contract is running out in 2023. According to Transfermarkt, his value is around 13 million, and yeah, that's it. I don't know. He did not play against Dortmund. I don't know if that was injury related or...
He was replaced. Yeah, I think he was replaced by because of injuries.
Yeah, he was not in the squad. He had a couple knee problems and he was out with illness. I don't know if it was COVID or not this season, but otherwise, if he's available, he's played. And I think he was also out for Cologne because he was at the Africa Cup.
Yes, he played there.
Matthias, do you have any other defensive midfield options? Maybe a nice number 6 from the Bundesliga or from maybe Liga or Serie A or I don't know.
Sebastian Kehl from 2005? No, Skiri, I like him. He's such a vital player for Köln that it would be good to get him to Dortmund. Since and not to hurt Köln, but just because I think he would do the job necessary, and that would free up players like Bellingham and Dahoud to not have to track back in certain situations or to be in a more progressive passing position, because week for week, man, I take a look at Dortmund's progressive passing numbers and they are not good.
Yeah. Well, much progression won't be done on the Yellowwallpod now either, because I think here's a good time to end this show. Thank you.
One thing. Can I throw in one name? Just we have it on the record, right? Oh.
Fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh. No, just one name, and he's a defender. But you already mentioned that Süle is always so many times injured. One name like we should keep an eye on, and he's a little bit out of left field right now. But that is Jesus Valero, the former Eintracht Frankfurt defender, because he's not playing at all at Real Madrid right now, and I think still 25 years old. He has shown what he can do. He was really, really great at Frankfurt. And I think if you want to have another defender and maybe someone who's not that expensive and you have like a relationship with Real, I mean, they're Watzke and Paris, they are buddies. I don't know what they do. These two old weirdos. No, but seriously, I mean, I guess that Valero would be an interesting signing for Dortmund.
Okay. Thank you for that contribution, Konstantin. No, you can contribute
My
by
pleasure.
telling our listeners where to find you on the internet.
Why are you so hostile today, Stefan?
I don't know what Whole Foods puts in their donuts. Probably not the good stuff. That's why I don't know.
Is it roid rage?
I did not sleep well.
Is it roid rage, Stefan?
It's just everything. The world's collapsing. It's Dortmund playing pitiful football against Cologne, and so on and so forth. So please just put me out of my misery and help me end this show.
Oh, put me out of my misery. Bring me out to the yard. And okay. So yeah, they can find me on Twitter, CC_ECKNER. There they will find most of my stuff. They can check me out on Instagram. They can check me out on YouTube. And I think there you will be helped with everything you need to know about me, moi, myself, monsieur.
All right, Matthias, do you have a whole link tree to post as well? Or?
No, I do not have a link tree to post. You can find me just on Twitter because I don't want to talk to anybody else anywhere else. You can find me there.
You don't even want to talk to anyone
Matthias
on Twitter.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
You're just a hater.
I am a hater. Everything kind of pisses me off right now. So
Yeah.
I guess my mood has rubbed off.
I feel like we need to get a
Stefan.
sponsor like the Sleep Number 360 or something.
Hey,
because
I'll be honest, this is like a really bullshit tangent now, but we upgraded our mattress and pillow and they're amazing.
Oh my god.
But it still doesn't help you when your dog wakes you at 4:30 in the morning. So, anyway, you can find me on Twitter where I don't like to talk to people.
DraftKings.com.
yeah, I think a podcast I'm listening to right now. It's called The Rights to Ricky Sanchez. It's a Sixers podcast, and they have Big Barker dog beds, something they advertise. So maybe Matthias, it's something for you to look into. So maybe that your dog can sleep away from the bed and maybe not wake you up that way, unless he is already not sleeping in your bed and just barking or whatnot. I don't know. But our dog sleeps with us in our bed. Anywho, you can find me at Stefan Butzko on Twitter. You can follow all of us at Yellowwallpod on Twitter and Facebook. And if you want to subscribe to the show, please do that via Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, etc. Pretty much every podcast. Maybe we should also get a link tree for that. And yeah, that's all for us from now for this week. We shall be back with a preview of the Leipzig game, which I don't know how much meaning that will have, but we'll make sure to preview it either way. So as always, everyone out there, thank you for listening and goodbye.